Hello students, this video is going to teach you a little bit about time signatures, which are a new concept we're going to come to understand. Time signatures are two numbers that are located at the beginning of every piece of music that we're going to play throughout the school year. You can see every single piece we have has a time signature. You'll notice that all of these time signatures are the same, okay, but as we get more advanced we'll see that those numbers can change. Okay. Before we jump into our note taking, remember that a measure is the space in between two bar lines that contains some number of notes, some number of rests, and some number of counts, total counts, and part of that is determined by the time signature. So that's why we need to understand how that works. Everyone should have a note sheet, a copy of the notes for today. They say time signatures at the top. Looks like this. Most of us will already have this in our packet that we got at the beginning of the school year, but if you need another copy, you can ask the teacher to get you a copy so you can follow along and take notes with us. Okay, so jumping right in, I will tell you that a time signature consists of two numbers, and they're going to be found at the beginning of a piece of music. Okay, some examples here: 2, 8. Now notice, even though it's set up kind of like a fraction, I'm not going to say 2/8. It's not in 2 over 8. Okay, we'll call it 4, 4. I just say the bottom number and then the top number. 3, 2, and 12, 4. Those are just examples of different time signatures we can have. Okay, so there's two numbers in each time signature. The top number tells us how many beats fit into each measure. The bottom number tells us what kind of note gets one beat. What kind of note gets one beat? Okay, so the top number is really pretty simple. Okay, the top number can be any number, and it tells us how many beats will fit into each measure. Okay, so in these examples, there are 2 beats in each measure. Okay, there are 4 beats in each measure. In this one, there are 3 beats in each measure, and in this one there are 12 beats in each measure. Okay, if I write a time signature that's 137/8, 137 beats in each measure. That's pretty silly. That's not a real time signature. But it could be, in theory. The number on bottom represents what kind of note gets one beat. Okay, what kind of note gets one beat? And it can only be a 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, etc. But the ones that we're going to see most often are these right here. The vast majority of the time, those are our counts. Those are our numbers that we're going to see on the bottom. Each number represents what type of note will get the beat in that time signature. Okay, so let's do this. This is the information we're looking for right here. Okay, if the bottom number of the time signature is a 2, then that tells us that the half note gets one beat. Okay, you might be able to figure out a certain logic to these numbers, but all you really need to do is just memorize what they mean. Okay, if you see a 4 for the bottom number of a time signature, like right here, that tells us that the quarter note gets one beat. Okay, if you see an 8, the 8th note gets one beat. Okay, very infrequently we could have a 1 in the bottom number, which would mean that the whole note will get one beat. And it's also possible, but not too common, for the bottom number to be a 16, in which case the 16th note gets one beat. I'm going to post this video to Schoology so that you can go over this again at home if you're confused or need to review. But I'll go ahead and tell you that if you're watching this in class right now, the substitute can pause the video for you if necessary so you have time to catch up writing. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and go on. Okay? So for each time signature, we're going to complete each sentence using what we know about the top number and the bottom number. Okay? Remember, the top number is really, really simple. Okay? In 4/4 time, 4/4, there are 4 beats in a measure. Because this number is a 4, there are 4 beats in every single measure. They can be rest beats, they can be notes. There can be any number of notes in the measure, but there's going to be 4 beats. Okay. The bottom number is a 4, just like this one. So that tells us that the quarter note gets 1 beat. Anytime that bottom number is 4, the quarter note gets 1 beat. Okay, here's 3-2. Take 5 seconds and think about what you think the answers are to our 2 questions. Okay, this tells us that there are 3 beats in each measure, and the half note gets 1 beat, right? If you got confused about that last step, remember that this 2 is part of a code, right? The 2 means that the half note gets 1 beat. We're just going to memorize that. And so we see that that means the half note gets 1 beat. Okay, in 6/8, there are how many? 6 beats in a measure. And what kind of note gets 1 beat? Well, I'm going to check. Oh yeah, the 8th note gets 1 beat. Uh-oh, spelling error. Okay, in 12/8 time, there are 12 beats in a measure, and you guessed it, the 8th note gets 1 beat. In 9/4 time, there are 9 beats in a measure, and the quarter note gets 1 beat. All right. Of course, we'll continue to discuss this and go over it many, many times in class, but hopefully this will give you a beginning understanding of what we're doing. I'll give you one last reminder, okay, which is that our most common time signature is 4/4. In fact, it's so common that once we get going a little bit, you'll see it abbreviated as the letter C for common time. Most of the time we're going to see this time signature, or the C for common, which means that we have 4 beats in a measure and the quarter note gets 1 beat. Thanks for watching.